Good morning, everyone. This is the fourth of a series of 5 vodcasts that I, Miles Clayton, Agility PR, are running, looking specifically at generative AI and the impact that's having right around the marketing mix. And today I'm extremely lucky to have with me Laurence Knopf, co-founder at the SEO specialists Optimistics. And I met Laurence at a meeting in Cambridge. It was called the Marketing Meetup back in May, and he was very clear that lots of changes happening within the world of search as a result of Gen AI. It's part of a trajectory of change rather than a revolution is what I think, to summarize a little bit what Lauren's going to talk about. But yeah, if I could open the floor to you, Laurence, and just get you to talk a little bit about your business and the challenges you're taking on with your clients.
Yeah, hi, Miles. Thank you very much, and thank you for letting me come on and talk with you on this subject, because I think obviously, as we talked about previously, it's a very important subject to cover at the moment. It's something that a lot of clients have got lots of questions about. There's lots of concern in the marketplace about how this is affecting the marketing activities that they need to engage in and what's happening with their traffic to their websites, etc. So it's a really important thing to cover. Yeah, Optimistics is a traditional specialist search engine marketing company. So because we do search engine marketing, that means we cover pretty much anywhere someone conducts a search, but obviously that tends to focus itself on in the UK predominantly Google, because Google is the largest search engine by quite some way in the UK, and also worldwide. So we typically focus our work around Google, both SEO and PPC. SEO is the lead service that we have in most cases when we work with clients on pay-per-click on Google. It's because we also do their SEO, and they've decided to move their PPC to us as well, so that we have a bit of a holistic approach on how we're approaching the overall search results for any particular query that might be relevant to clients. And over the last 3 years, we have gradually been moving into both using AI to enhance and increase the productivity for some of the work that we're doing for clients, and facing some of the challenges that clients are having with visibility in Google, traffic from Google, and also, in the last 12 months in particular, clients wanting to know how they can get visibility in the LLMs, and what they need to do, whether they need to change their strategy, etc.
Fantastic. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. And I think one of the pressing issues for marketeers is probably making sure that they are still getting interested parties reaching them online. And obviously, the great sort of concern that's risen is the falling away of clicks. And how does one combat that if one does, in terms of Gen AI based searching, and this issue that answer engine optimization is something that the likes of HubSpot like to talk about, which rather suggests that quite a lot needs to change in terms of the organization of websites and the organization of content. But maybe you have different views on that and about what changes customers need to think about.
Yeah, I mean, just to talk about that first element, which was around about why why click-through rates are decreasing. What's motivating that, and why that's happening, and potentially, whether you should or shouldn't be trying to address it in particular. Now, first of all, click-through rates are decreasing from Google because over the last 12 to 18 months, gradually Google has been rolling out more and more AI produced answers when people are conducting searches. There's various stats depending on whose reports you look at. There are various stats that will tell you something like 30% of all queries are now producing AI overviews. So at the top of the search results, you're not seeing the ads, you're not seeing the organic search listings that SEO would traditionally try and influence. You're seeing the AI overview at the top. And what the AI overview is giving you is ever increasingly the actual answers to your questions. So they are leveraging content on other people's sites to deliver the actual answer that the user query might be requesting. And that is both for like long tail searches where there is actually a really defined and obvious question being asked, and short tail searches where it's like a traditional search and it's just kind of, oh, I'm looking for X in this location, give me a list. AI overviews are also, in some cases, covering those as well. So they're not very clearly questions, but Google is inferring a question from them and giving you an answer, essentially. And because what happens is they give you that answer, people are not necessarily needing to click on any one particular website to actually get the answer. It's being delivered to them. And so that affects click-through rates. And we've seen this very clearly in the data for a lot of our clients, some differing from others, because some clients are more reliant, or have been more reliant in the past, on kind of addressing early buying cycle, early funnel kind of questions from users, and then refining that user's journey through the site so that they actually become an inquiry, a customer, or a purchaser, whatever it might happen to be. So there's some clients that are more focused on that early part of the funnel, and some which are focused on the end of the funnel. I want X and I want it now. So, and they try and deliver that as best as possible. But both of those groups and everybody in between, if we look at their analytics, we're seeing a drop in organic traffic, where we're not seeing a drop in rankings. So those two things, it's important to measure those two things at the same time, because if you see a drop in organic traffic, which is not typical seasonally, so there's obviously some businesses have got seasonal drops, not typical seasonally, and not related to any actual organic ranking position changes, because if the positions were going down, then that would also indicate a drop in organic traffic. So where those two things are not aligned, that means that less people are clicking. There isn't less search, because all of the evidence is telling us that search volumes are not going down. And actually what's happening with kind of AI orientated searches, especially searches that are happening in places like ChatGPT, is that those are not stealing traffic or not stealing searches from Google. They are extra searches. They're on top of. And obviously they differ, because with an LLM, they're much more task orientated searches than they are information gathering searches. Of course, there are information gathering searches that happen on ChatGPT as well, but you don't go to Google to write an article, for example. You go to an LLM to help you to do that. So they're task orientated as well as being search orientated. So there isn't necessarily a shift in volume, but there is a shift in traffic, because people are not clicking when they're produced a AI overview. Um, and that has accelerated by Google now rolling out AI mode. So you've got AI overviews, which happen within the search environment, and then you've got AI mode, which you can either start in some occasions. Sometimes you can't start in AI mode, um, or you can move over to AI mode and start having getting even more detailed answers and potentially start having a conversation with the AI, which is a little bit more akin to what can happen inside Google Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and all of those other platforms. Although Google AI mode still favors being a search environment more than a chatbot environment specifically. You can't do tasks inside there. It's still search, refined search, search more, etc. It's not really the same as a Gemini is, but it's not. The AI overviews are still a search environment. So all of that basically means that more information is being delivered to the user up front, which means less clicks are happening. The question here for me, and the question, and we don't necessarily have the answers to all of this because this is a huge, as I say, it's evolving all the time, it's changing all the time. ChatGPT launched their own browser the other day. So, where people are going and what they're doing is always changing. But the question we have to answer, I think, sometimes is businesses who measure the effectiveness of some of their marketing channels by the click. It might not be the right question to say, how can we still maintain those clicks? It's like holding on to a metric that used to be useful, but isn't necessarily useful anymore. Because if user behavior means they're not clicking, then maybe clicks are not the thing you should be measuring anymore. So the thing around that is, yes, of course, you want to optimize your site so that you can appear in all of the properties that Google presents. And Google presents a vast array of properties on a page when someone does a search. So it might be an AI overview, yes, but it also might be a list of products. It might be answers to questions in a different format. It might be the knowledge graph. It might be the maps. It might be a specific company's Google Maps profile on the right of the page. It might be ads. It will be the normal 10 search result listings. So you always want to optimize so that you have presence in as many of those as possible. And in fact, optimizing so that you've got presence in as many of those as possible actually will also help your presence in LLMs. And we could talk about that a little bit as well. So you always want to optimize to appear in all of those environments if you possibly can, because it will always improve your chances of getting a click. But clicks are going to continue to decline. So maybe chasing clicks is not the answer anymore. And thinking about what types of clicks they are as well is really important, because clicks from keywords are one thing, clicks from brand keywords are another thing. And the byproduct of potentially being featured in an AI overview or in AI mode or even in an LLM might be that actually you get less clicks from things you think you wanted to target previously, which might be keywords which are completely independent of brand, to properly appraising your brand traffic. And that's a fundamental change potentially for us as an SEO agency as well, because for the last 15 years we've been telling people, we don't count your brand traffic towards us measuring whether the work we're doing is effective for you or not, because you get that brand traffic because people know or have heard of you already.
So when you say brand traffic, are you literally talking about the name of the company?
Yeah, it could be the name of the company. It could be a brand specific name for a product or a service that doesn't exist in any other business. It could be people within the business. Because for some certain searches, maybe an individual's name might surface if they're looking for an expert in Y or Z, or they're looking for an influencer, or they're looking for a thought leader in a particular marketplace. It might be an individual's name that is specifically related to the brand. So anything that is not keyword, service product orientated, that is not necessarily um, proprietary to that individual business. That would be the brand traffic. And we've always told people we don't want to be measured by brand traffic because you're going to get that anyway. We're measuring ourselves by keyword traffic because that's about people who don't know who you are already, aren't searching for your brand, and want to find people that offer that product or that service or that piece of information. Obviously, there's crossover, always crossover, and people might search with a keyword, then search with brand, and then search with keyword again because they might have they're close to making a decision and engaging with you as a business, but they want to double confirm that you actually are seen as an authority or a decent supplier for the product they're looking to buy. And they might then just do a product keyword search again to verify that you're there still. So,
Mm.
search behavior is, weaves in and out of both brand, non-brand, early funnel, late funnel, etc., etc. So there's always this, it's always a complicated landscape. So I'm simplifying it a little bit, but because people might see you in AI overviews, they might see you in AI mode, they might see you listed in ChatGPT, they might not click, but they might then just go to Google and do a search and use a
Mm.
brand term or use a specific product name or use a team member's name, for example. So so what we measure. So the question is, do we still measure clicks? Do we still encourage clients to measure clicks, or do we change some of those metrics? And when we are measuring clicks, which clicks are we measuring? Are we only measuring non-brand, or are we measuring brand? And how do we compare them? And one thing we would expect to see is that someone who's got really good AI overview or LLM visibility for one reason or another, may see a drop in their keyword traffic, but should see an increase in their brand traffic. It's a thinking process here of what are going to be the right things to measure, and what parts of those things do we measure, and what elements do we see as positive or negative.
Yes, yes. I mean, it makes me think that we need to almost step back a bit and think about the intent of the browser, of the user. Because you were talking at the beginning about Gen AI sort of people are trying to do a bit more with it than just traditional search. They're using it for decision support
Yeah,
as well as information, um, which seems to put quite a big onus on the content, which puts those brands in a position where they can be in those platforms. In other words, they have to be contributing, either answering very specific queries, or they have to be sort of pro supporting the body of knowledge around a topic, to make it through to those AI views and the LLMs. That's what
yeah.
it feels like to me, but maybe I'm biased on this. I'm not sure.
I think there is a statistic out there about the number of sites linked to, or where information comes from, that goes into AI overviews in Google, um, compared to the sites that are listed in the top 10 listings for the same query. And I think the statistic is something like 40% of the sites which are mentioned in AI overviews do not appear in the top 10 links on the organic search for the same query. And that's because I don't know this as a fact, we're inferring this from what we see. That's because when an AI overview is compiled, Google is trying to to utilize um, easy snippets of very specific pieces of information. And so if it thinks that there is a site which doesn't appear normally in the top 10 listings, because the algorithm around that works slightly different to the way that the AI overview is generated, and I'll talk about that in a sec, um, then they're more than happy to take a very easily digestible, specific snippet of information from a site that normally wouldn't have a chance of getting onto the first page of Google and put it into the AI overview because it adds value and very specific information around a facet of the answer that it's giving that it thinks is going to be useful to users. And so the reason why those sites who AI mode is, or who AI overviews, and probably AI mode as well, is appraising as having really valuable information, can't appear in the top 10 links for the same search organically, is probably, and we haven't done a huge amount of comparative testing on this, but it's probably down to the inbound links that those sites get. So the sites that appear on the front page of Google will typically be pages which give good information around the search that's being done, but they will probably also have quite strong inbound link profiles. And inbound link profiles has always been the thing, that the 50-50 thing for Google is that, it's 50%, as long as you've got your technical SEO right, it's 50% about the content you've got and how it answers what the user is looking for. And it's 50% about how valuable and trusted your site looks. And the thing that always drove that value and trust was inbound links. It's a little bit more complicated than that now, obviously, because we've also got elements of reviews, which is also super important to Google, and how real people or real businesses view what's being offered. But links was a really important, still a really important part of those top 10 organic links. And what Google is saying with AI overviews is saying, okay, but there are these sites over here that normally wouldn't get onto page one because they don't have a very strong link profile, but they are offering a very important and specific piece of information about this query that other sites are not offering. And therefore, we will add them into the AI overview position. And that's an opportunity for businesses because it allows them to leverage expertise and understanding of a subject matter in their content to get AI overview visibility that they weren't able to get visible on the first page of Google. So it's an opportunity rather than an issue. It's the same way that, being listed with a YouTube video covering a specific subject matter can get you onto page one where you couldn't get onto page one normally. It's the same way where if you optimized your Google business profile and got decent reviews on that, you could appear on page one of Google, whereas your website might not have. So all of these properties offer opportunities to get visibility, and that specificity of content is really important, because if in your content you can offer stuff that other people aren't, you can get visibility.
Fantastic. Well, that's really helpful. I mean, I work generally with technology businesses, and of course, the thing they sell, I mean, they are part of the knowledge economy. They sell their expertise. Most of them, as well as making software, they want to be consultants.
Mm.
They want to share the contents of their brain. So in some ways, this is ideal for these sorts of businesses. So as well as answering very specific questions, they can expose, I suppose, their expertise and domain knowledge, for full visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. The steps that that AI, or the things that AI normally look at when they're appraising what to put in the answer that they're giving, um, especially places like ChatGPT, for example, is they will look for signals which say that a particular piece of content is correct for the answer that they want to present. So they're looking for something content based first. Uh, there will be scenarios where that's not the case, obviously, but let's just think about it in this way, in the way that you're talking about. They'll look to see whether some content that displays um, uh, 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 that expertise exists somewhere.
Yeah.
Then they'll look to see who's that connected to, who is that piece of content connected to a business, connected to a person, what does it happen to be? And then they'll look to see whether there are any third party places that verify whether that business or that person has the expertise that this piece of content suggests. Um, and and so the piece of content, the piece of information is super important, but the verification of of authority, respectability, and experience and expertise around that bit of content is the next bit that they look for.
I mean, that's quite tricky, isn't it? Because the third party stuff, I mean, obviously being a PR man, I spent my life writing case studies and this sort of thing. But it seems that AI is much more interested in unfiltered third party content, as it's called. In other words, these are things like review sites, but also chat rooms and things like Reddit, for example, apparently
Yes.
is massively used by the LLMs.
Because those chat environments are where real people give real opinions. And
Mm.
so if you think about everything that can be brought together to build a picture of whether a person or a business is good at what they do, you've obviously got the thing that I've already talked about, which is the links that come into a website. That's one thing. And that was fundamentally the thing that made Google who they are today, because nobody appraised link information before Google did. And that's why their results were immediately seen as better than all of their predecessors when they came out. And that's why they became so successful. So you've got the links, you've also got reviews, but reviews tend to be quite short. They don't tend to discuss topics. Some people obviously do write long reviews, but there's no context and conversation around it. But that's a good signal. Reviews are a good signal. Then you've got factors like how influential is a person on social media, for example, or a business. How many followers do they have? How many likes or whatever that they get on their posts? But then you've got platforms like Reddit, where actual threads and conversations and discussions occur about a very wide cross section of subjects, everything including specific products and services to just information and events, for example. So Reddit and those kind of platforms are a really good source to distill sentiment and user tips and things like that. And they all kind of sit on the side of verification, links, reviews, influence, and chats around things. They all sit on that side of verifying a product, a process, a person, a business. And so that's why I think Reddit is a really big source for places like ChatGPT. Um, it's definitely not it's definitely not a place where because I have heard of this, that a lot of the SEO agencies potentially trying to push their clients into lots of activity in Reddit, for example. And I don't think that is necessarily the right thing to do, because I think it's a bit like SEO 10 years ago, or up to 10 years ago, where because links were so important, SEO agencies ran around furiously trying to get any kind of link for their clients and telling clients that they must do these weird and wonderful link schemes to try and get their website listed. And ultimately, Google clocked onto that, maybe a little bit too late, because they let everybody get away with it and kind of fueled the industry behind it by not taking action on it. But eventually Google woke up to it, and people got penalized because of it, or just got their site devalued because of it. I think the same thing will happen with Reddit. If everybody runs around trying to build stuff on Reddit, I think the LLMs will see that as manipulation, and they will start excluding people that look like they're doing it, in a manipulative way.
Presumably, the communities themselves will kind of out people who are misusing those chat rooms as well. So they'll be undone
Yeah.
within those platforms, I would have
Yeah,
thought.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and people on Reddit are not shy about
Mm.
coming forwards with their opinion about their fellow contributors. So
Absolutely.
that is
Yeah.
good.
Perish the thought a PR man should get in there as well. That would be literally the worst thing
Yeah,
possible.
there are always ways of doing things well and doing things organically. There's always been a good way and an organic way to build links. PR is a very good example of that. We've always been telling clients, if you want to build links, then what you really should be doing is earning them. Not just going out and placing them yourself, not paying for them, but earning them with great work, great innovation, good PR, great content. So PR's always been that vehicle for SEO. In fact, PR is therefore a really great vehicle for AI visibility as well now. And I think I mean, there's always been and PR's always been a really important marketing channel and always been used by lots of companies, as you know. But there is potentially a bit of a renaissance going on around the idea of using PR for now SEO visibility and LLM visibility. And what we're saying to clients is, well, look back at that email we sent you 8 years ago. That said to you that you need to invest in PR back then. And if you had done, then you would now have the visibility that you're now asking us for. So it's going to have it's having a renaissance, but it's not a it's not a it's not a uh, I don't know the right words, but it's a real thing, and it will help not just your LLM visibility, it will help your SEO visibility, because it always helped your SEO visibility, and it obviously has all of its own reasons for doing it that PR has always had. But that's great if people wake up to PR now and realize that they need that they need to get those kind of messages out, to reinforce their visibility in LLMs, then I think it's fantastic.
Well, no, I concur with that. Definitely. And I was going to turn back to a bit of your expertise on the Google side in terms of Google real estate that you
Mm,
feel companies really need to be focusing on now, um, more than ever, really, to ensure that they're seen in all those locations.
yeah.
Has that changed, or I mean, do you have a sort of top four that you always talk to new customers about?
Well, I mean, visibility has. So I'm going to go back in time a little bit here. So my roots are in advertising. I worked in a West End advertising agency for about 8 years. I was a salesman in that agency, but we predominantly at that time, this was pre-Google, we predominantly focused on national newspapers for both property and travel businesses. So we were selling solutions, selling creative, selling space in national newspapers for those kinds of businesses. And when we sold space to clients, for example, inside classifieds, one of the tactics which we found worked quite well was it, as opposed to having like a really big ad to kind of to 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 kind of dominate a classified ads page by having the biggest ad on the page. If you had more than one ad on the page in a few different places, that could have the same effect as a big ad, if not a better effect than a big ad, because the user, however they scanned the page, would see your ad. And so that was that for some businesses was a really good tactic. And it's kind of the same thing with the Google real estate. If you appear in a search ad, in a map listing, and in the organic results, you are increasing your ability to get a click from that result, because obviously you're in different parts of the page. So if different users, if gravitate to ads or gravitate to maps or then you're there. So you obviously are increasing your chances of getting clicks. And of course, this is one of the ways that we talk to clients who are fundamentally concerned about the drop in clicks at the moment. So if you have that visibility, you got more of a chance to appeal to users who like those different environments on the page. But also there is this kind of halo effect. You know, people see you here, they see you there, they think, oh my God, this company seems to be all over this thing that I've searched for. Therefore, there is a brand perception that the company must be better than other companies that are not appearing either on the page at all or only once on the page. And therefore, we do encourage the idea of, you know, understanding the environment in which your site appears for a particular search and trying to take the opportunities to appear in all of those environments. So if a search typically shows up ads, maybe video listings, and organic, then we would try and encourage clients to appear in all of those places, so that they've got that visibility. That does, to a degree, protect clicks, but it also increases brand perception and and therefore brand searches maybe further down the line. So when you look at a page, you've got lots of places. You've got, obviously you've got the AI overviews, you've got ads,
Mm.
you've got product listings potentially. Sometimes you've got images listed. You potentially sometimes will have map listings. You'll have the knowledge graph. You'll have the main 10 links, the main 10 search links, um,
Mm.
and and those are different for different types of searches. So understanding what types of searches are going to generate those kind of things and then trying to find ways to have that real estate. It's not that we always recommend ads, maps, and organic. It's that you have to understand the environment that tends to appear for the searches that you're targeting, and then target those parts of the page. So if videos do crop up, then we would be recommending to clients, well, you need to build your YouTube channel, build the channel up, have videos, make the videos specific to aspects of the searches that might appeal to that particular user query, and do all of that kind of stuff. So it's not that we've got a top three, it's that
No.
it's what's right for the search that is being conducted.
Yes. So I guess you've always done this, but maybe it's more important nowadays is to think of the intent of the search, or of almost you're thinking of different profiles of users and at what stage of the funnel those users are going to be in. So you're kind of creating those personas almost.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of thinking about it? And sort of
Um,
in establishing intent, I suppose, of searchers.
yes, I mean intent is really important, and that's always been part of our optimization work. Um, and different queries can be grouped in different types of intent, and then that can therefore influence the content that you're going to produce. What's more important is, I think, specificity. It's ensuring that you have content on your site, and content not just on your site but across the web, which specifically indicates you have something to say and a level of expertise in very specific elements to do with the service or the product that you're offering. If you cover all of those, then you will be covering pretty much all the cross section of intent. So, if you know that specifically there is information about the problems that your product solves, for example, and you talk about all of those problems, then you will, and you talk about them very specifically, you'll be covering that early funnel, where people are searching with a problem that they're looking to solve. And then on the other end, if you're talking very specifically about the features, benefits, and prices of your products and services, then you're addressing all of the elements at the other end of the funnel. It's
Yeah.
not as simple as that, but if you look at every single small specific piece of information you need to cover across the whole, from problem to solution, then you will probably cover everything.
Well, that's very helpful, I have to say, for me personally. Um, one other question I was thinking of, okay, whizzing back a bit to the LLMs, something you said when you spoke in May that you're expecting, I suppose, with the rise of agentic AI, for bots to be doing a lot of the querying of the LLMs. I mean, how do you see that playing out, and whether there's an implication for marketers there, or should we just leave the bots to it?
I mean, I think you've got to, if you look at what the user is looking to do. So the user, when they're using a platform like Google, is they're looking for the right information as easily and quickly as possible. And that's what Google's always tried to deliver users, the right information as easily as quickly as possible. Um, Users that still want that, whether they're using uh, Google for a search or whether they're using an LLM for a search. They still want that, the right information as quickly as possible, when they're not doing task-based queries, for example. And so let's say that's happening in a product environment. So there are two ways that you can get your answers. Up until now, there's been two ways. You can put the product search into Google. Google gives you the list of links you can go to. You go to those links. You either mentally or you write down some information. You compare what you've seen, and then you choose the product to buy. That's one way. The other way is doing something very similar, either going to Google, doing the search, or going directly to a publisher that might already have done a comparison of products in that environment. And you look at their comparison, they give some recommendations. You maybe click on a few links, maybe less than you would have done if you were searching directly in Google, because Google aren't giving you any comparative information in that list. But this list on, I don't know, if you're looking for the best men's shaving cream, for example, you might have gone to GQ, and GQ have got this list, and they've given
Yeah.
some advice.
Or which, if you were looking for a dishwasher or something.
And then you make your decision based on the information and a little bit more advice that that particular article is giving you. All that agents would do on top of that is enhance that process for you. So they would make the information, they would ensure that the information is right. They would make your decision-making process easier and quicker. So let's just say you've got an agent which is specifically designed to help people find the right product that they want for a particular scenario. That's an agent that may indeed exist today. ChatGPT will do something like that for you already. But there may be an agent that's specifically developed for that, and the agent will go off and they'll look at every single product that matches for you, bring back the information, compare it, grade them, make a suggestion on which one is the right answer or the right one for you to choose, and then give you the opportunity to maybe refine that product choice even more through a chat. So that is doing what the user wants them to do. It's getting the right information and delivering it as easy and quickly as possible and helping you make a decision. So it's exactly what users want now. It's just that the agent is doing a lot of the heavy lifting and potentially doing the decision making for you, based on the information that you've given it about what you want. And so 100%, that is going to grow over the next few years, and I think it's going to grow rapidly. And obviously, in that scenario, the agents are going to gather the information from the sources that they are designed to gather the information from, and you're not going to have a role in where that information comes from. Now, at the moment, I know that if you do certain searches inside ChatGPT, they will go off and do a live search, and a lot of the time they're using Bing as their platform for the search that they're conducting. They will use Google too, but a lot of the time, when we conduct what we call AI visibility audits for clients now, where we're trying to drill down for a specific set of queries where a client appears, and what influences that visibility, and then we build a plan on how we think the client can then affect their visibility for those queries. So that's one of the things that we offer clients at the moment. And what we're finding through that is once we're asking questions to the LLMs, we then drill down a little bit further into the reasons why they answered the question the way that they did. A lot of the times they're saying, oh, we go off and we did a search. And sometimes they say Google, but a lot of the time they say we went off and we did a search on Bing. The difference is that they're not using the Bing interface. They have an API into Bing, and so it's a direct connection to the search database within Bing. But that immediately tells us that actually, for a lot of LLMs, Bing visibility, we've concentrated on Google for the last 10, 15 years because it's 80-90% of the search marketplace. Well, for LLMs, that swings towards Bing a lot more, and therefore now from a search engine optimization point of view, we need to consider Bing a lot more and visibility within Bing, because LLMs are going to use an API into Bing where clients are visible within Bing is therefore important. I suppose I'm maybe rambling a little bit here, but
Well, that's fascinating though, yeah,
yeah,
because I mean,
yeah, but
Bing
I
you
think
always thought of as only having about 2 or 3% of the
yeah,
search world, but now you're saying suddenly it's much more important in decision support and
yeah, yeah.
connected with Gen AI. Yeah.
Exactly. But the important bit there is that they will grow. these specific agents around specific types of decision making or specific types of information gathering, because they follow exactly what the user wants. That the user wants the right information as quickly and easy as possible. And if they can get help with the decision making as well, then you can guarantee they'll take that, because they've always taken it through these kind of lists that you get on sites like the GQ or anybody that compares products or indeed services. They do want help with the decision making. And so these agents will grow, and these agents will not uh, 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 will be using uh, their own sources to get their information. They will have direct feeds from the search engines. They will have direct APIs into product information from places like Amazon, etc. And so there will not be a process where the human is searching. The AI will be doing the search, and therefore, how you optimize for bot visibility is important, but it really does depend on what those sources are, because the sources will optimizing for those sources is going to be the thing that you will need to do, not necessarily optimizing for the agent itself, but optimizing for visibility in the source that the agent uses. And so therefore, if that's Bing, it's old school SEO to get visibility in Bing. If it's Google, it's old school SEO to get visibility in Google. If it's Amazon, there are optimization methods for Amazon too. So it's a bit of an undefined situation, because we don't have thousands of these kinds of agents which we can compare and say, oh right, 50-60% are all getting their information from Google searches, etc., etc. It's hard to say that, because that kind of the landscape doesn't exist anymore. But if you move forwards 5 years, I was going to say 10 years, but that's a millennia as far as AI is concerned. So if you move forward 5 years, there's going to be a lot more of these, and we're going to have a lot clearer picture of how you actually optimize for them.
I think that's a very interesting one to watch. I think we'll possibly come back and revisit that one in a year's time or so to see how it's developing, because I'm sure it will be, as you say. That's it's fascinating. Well, we've come to the nearly to the end of our hour, so I just had one more question really, and you started to answer it really by talking about this AI visibility audit that you run. In terms of the things that you as an SEO business have had to change, let's focus just on 2025, now that we're coming towards the end of 2025.
Mm.
what what were the sort of the main things that you've had to alter? Has it been about skills, or new services, or even new types of people? I mean, has it been a big shake-up for you in the last 12 months or so?
Yes, it's definitely been a big shake-up. It's not. It. I mean, I don't think the rules of SEO are being rewritten. I don't think that. I think certain elements of SEO are becoming more important than they were, not necessarily as far as SEOs are concerned, but as far as clients are concerned. So, so, so we talked about PR. So PR has always been important to SEO, because it produces that visibility on third-party platforms. That gives you the credibility you need as a business. It gives you the links that you need to prove that credibility to Google, to help you get onto page one. So PR, for example, has always been important. It's just that it's going to have this renaissance now, where when clients ask us, what can we be doing to get this visibility? And we say, well, it's X, Y, and Z, and one of those things is PR. Clients are going to go, oh, okay, right, yeah, okay, well, yeah, Yeah, we shied away from PR previously because of X, Y, and Z as well, but now let's consider it a lot more important. What do we need to be doing? So I think those kind of things are going to have a renaissance, but they were always part of the SEO toolkit for especially for businesses that could invest in it. The same thing goes for a concept called EEAT, which stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. When we do our AI visibility audits for clients, one of the things that crops up all the time are the signals which would have always been part of EEAT, which is a fundamental part of the way that Google's algorithm is built around trying to understand the experience, expertise, authority, and trust of either what the person is who is saying the content that they're indexing, or the business. So we're finding that the visibility audits are telling us that these are still super important for AI visibility too. Um, but there are little things that are different. So we talked about Bing. We wouldn't necessarily, with all of our clients, some of our clients we do because they're the kind of size of business that is interested in Bing. But we wouldn't normally be tracking the visibility of a client on Bing that rigorously because of the size of the marketplace that they held. We wouldn't necessarily be recommending to clients that they should have a Google business profile. Sorry, a Bing business profile, a map listing, as they might have done inside Google. We wouldn't necessarily be recommending certain review platforms to get presence on, because it becomes apparent through some of the visibility audits that some review platforms are favored more when LLMs go off and look for reviews in certain scenarios than other platforms. So there are little things that are changing, and there are bigger things which already existed, which are having a bit of a renaissance. And so when you add those two things together, trying to talk to clients about the effect of just the changes within Google of these different AI environments, the effect of the intervention and growth of LLMs, and um, and the renaissance of certain parts of SEO, and these little kind of tweaks that you can make on things that we would never normally have included, you get quite a big shift in what we're doing. It's not a shift in skill set. So we haven't needed to bring different people on, etc. We've just needed to, a year ago, we didn't have AI visibility audits at all. This year is the year when clients have started asking those questions. Even though the last 3 years we've had AI, it's really this year that clients have started asking those questions. So that's a new part of our toolkit for clients, and we're still learning a lot through that, and it will probably still evolve what we're doing as an agency and what we're delivering to clients. The important thing for us is that, whereas and maybe even when I did that talk in Cambridge, um, I possibly would have leaned towards SEO needing to change significantly to deliver what it needed to deliver for the new Google and for LLMs. We're now starting to see through the AI visibility audits, because what we do with the AI visit, we conduct them across ChatGPT, AI overviews, AI mode, Claude, Perplexity, and Gemini. So we run the same set of searches through all of those platforms, and then we interrogate them, and then we produce a report, and then we produce a plan. So we get really good intelligence from those. Is that in general, old school SEO, what SEO has always been, is 80% of the job in getting the visibility you need in all of these platforms. I've been talking about content specificity to clients for at least 10 years. And so these are the kind of things which still feed into that. So while there is a lot of change, the fundamental basis for the things that give visibility are still there. It's just some of the levers are are decreasing in importance, and some are increasing in importance.
Well, I think that's a fantastic summary. I mean, it's not quite sort of plus ça change, but it's sort of saying that the fundamentals of good organic based search certainly are have not really changed, but as you say, some things have become slightly more in focus, or they've become more important in some cases, and then others have lost a little bit of ground, or aren't quite as valuable as they were. So yeah,
Links is a very good example of that. When you look at AI overviews, that statistic that 40% of the people that appear in that region wouldn't normally appear on page one, and that is probably because they have weaker link profiles. That is a really interesting change. You still need SEO to tell you, drill down, get these specific bits, include these kind of keywords, have the right markup around that. If schema markup is appropriate, for example, if that bit of information is inside an FAQ, for example, you can use FAQ schema to help all platforms, including search engines and LLMs, extract that FAQ and include it in an answer, for example. You still need SEO guidance to help you do that, but you don't necessarily need the links to get the visibility. That is an interesting change and a lever that is changing. You still need the links to be on page one organically, and search certainly doesn't look like it's going away just yet, but you don't need them for AI mode, for AI visibility, for LLMs. You don't necessarily need those links.
no, I mean, I think that's very, very interesting to me. So, well, thank you very much indeed, Laurence. This has taken up way too much of your time, but I've certainly found it very interesting. I'm hoping that people that watch this in a few weeks' time, once we've had a good look at it, will judge the same, and we'll be looking at it as they're planning 2026. And certainly, I'm finding it's bringing more focus on high value content and PR in general in terms of third party editorial coverage, etc. Even though, as you say, it never really went away, it's just in slightly sharper focus as a result of the LLM or Gen AI based changes. So
Absolutely.
fascinating conversation, and thank you very much for making some time available to us. And we'll have to meet up for a Christmas drink.
Yeah, that'd be great. But thank you for having me on. And I could talk about it for hours, but
No, well, as I say, I think it's one of those topics that no one has heard enough about. There's so much interest and desire for marketers to properly understand it. So I think this will hopefully go some way to synthesize thinking. And so, yeah, thank you again. It's been very, very helpful.